Good day. This is the Elliott Wave weekly update for the NASDAQ 100 being recorded on Saturday, December the 7th, 2024. I'm going to start with the NDX, the cash market for the NASDAQ, and I'm going to just do a quick review. I'm on the weekly chart. So we remain within the final stages to complete an intermediate third wave. And so the highest level I'm counting is that we are in a primary fifth wave up. And that primary fifth wave, once complete, will finish one level up. It'll finish a cycle wave three. So within this primary fifth wave, it's going to consist of five waves of intermediate degree, of which we are getting ready to, very close to, completing intermediate wave three. That'll lead us to an intermediate fourth wave correction. And as I've discussed previously, as we know that Elliott and the way we learn how we're counting and where fourth waves may or may not come in, we use very simple that Elliott told us that a fourth wave will find its terminus within the fourth wave of the one lesser degree. And if we're counting that we're looking for an intermediate fourth wave, it's going to be dealing with the minor fourth wave. And we can come back on the charts and see that that would bring us back to, and it's usually the terminus, the endpoint of that previous fourth wave. So if we look at the completion point for the minor fourth wave, we're looking at a low at 17,435. So no matter where we end up in this intermediate third wave, I'm eventually going to be looking for an intermediate fourth wave to bring us down and back to around those levels. And we'll be able to redefine that a little bit once we do get the completion for intermediate wave three. Then we'll run a fibs retracements from the low of where in intermediate wave two completed up to that intermediate wave three high. So based on all of that, let's now go inside this intermediate wave three. And where are we? We are within the minor fifth wave. Intermediate wave three consists of five waves of minor degree. And there's minor one, two, three, four, and we're in minor wave five. Now, inside minor wave five, it's going to consist of five waves of minute degree, of which we've now, I believe, completed one, two, three, and four. And so that's a little bit of an addition because I had kept open the potential for this minute wave four to still be in progress, but we've now exceeded upper levels, upper fib levels that would have kept it into that irregular B wave type situation and bringing it back down. And we've done that both in the futures and in the cash market. So with that in mind, I have marked this fourth wave as being complete. Now, again, staying on this a 3-year weekly chart. If that's the case, then what we're in is minute wave five. Now I'm going to start to bring this down. And I'm going to bring it down all the way to the 4-hour chart because really what we're looking at is that minor fifth wave. And inside we can see we have wave one, two, three, four, and we're inside that fifth wave. Now, there's a couple of ways that I think we can count this. And if I'm putting this for here, then let me just kind of activate this, bring it down just a tad. So that would suggest that we've got to move this. If indeed what we're looking at is that we have a little bit of a diagonal going on here. So this would be wave one, that's a three, and this is a three, and this is a three. And then what we've got going up is A, B, and we're inside that C wave, but it could be, and it could be finishing. I'm kind of counting it out a little bit differently. If I bring it down to that hourly chart, then you see that we do have an ABC. So maybe it's a diagonal inside the diagonal, but I'm counting this as almost a series of threes. And that's wave one, and this is wave two. And then we have wave three. And we still have a little bit probably more to go within this third wave. And what I'm doing is that this is one, two, and that would be the A, that would be the B, and then we've got one, two, three, four, five, So I'm not sure if that is inside what we've got going on, but it does appear that we may need a little bit more before we're done with this minuet third wave. And sticking with the fact that you see we're well above this trend line. And that is what kind of begins to concern me. It's like it doesn't look at too bad right here, but when we bring it down to that hourly, you can see we're well above the trend line. And so, in fact, we're looking for wave four to come back within the trend line. So it does kind of make it a little bit more complicated in terms of what actually is all of this. Is it more like going to be this diagonal? Because it still can be. And we're just above the trend line on the hourly chart, but on the 4-hour chart, not really too bad. And if we go out to the daily chart, we're definitely just cruising across the top. Now, being that's the case, I can't rule out that, well, maybe we are finishing the whole thing up. Now, I'm not really liking that particular count because I don't think that these internal waves are done yet. And I think we've just raised the potential that minute wave 5 could reach up into above 22,000 before it's done. This is on the cash market. So on Friday, we ended up closing in the cash at 21,622. So again, new all-time high, new all-time high, new all-time high in the cash as well as in the futures market. And the cash still, and this is going back to July of 2024, that's kind of where the relative strength peaked out. So here we have this wave 4 and we're coming up in a wave 5. Yep, we're overbought, and yep, we're cruising up and making new all-time highs again. And there's a little bit of divergence showing up here. And not so much there, it's equally. But if we compare it to where the strength was the greatest, then this fifth wave is just lagging as we come in. And part of that, from what I believe, is coming from the fact that this intense rally that we saw this past week is really kind of being put into place because they're moving into, for example, Tesla. If we take a look at Tesla on Friday, Tesla ended up closing, and I want to just put this over here. It ended up closing up 19 at 389. So in fact, and then in the aftermarket was trading at 394. So reaching 400 has really kind of gotten the NASDAQ itself just really pushing into its upper areas. But this is what's behind it. And then we had Meta being on Friday being up 14. We saw Apple down a little bit, Amazon up, Google up. So as these Big Mac 7 stocks really continue to just climb, and then some of them really gaining, i.e. Tesla, then it just presents us with a little bit different relative strength. So we're not seeing that strength that we saw more broad-based within the NASDAQ 100. It's more selective. And that may or may not carry through because, again, if we remember, we're not only were we at an expiration on Friday, but that's what we're continuing to work towards. A continuous row of expirations right up until year end. So that's actually now what I'm also wanting to bring into the conversation is that we've been looking for a top and we thought we could get it mid-December. Well, next week, mid-December. So what it really starts to become like, gee, what is this all going to turn into? And so when we're looking at our calendar, we have next week, but then the 20th is going to be the December expiration. And then we have an expiration on the 31st, but that's more of a daily, and it's more in the indexes than it is for the underlying stocks. The underlying stocks would have their final 2024 expiration on December the 27th. And so, but right now, the buildup is to the December 20th, because after that, we're in the holidays. We're definitely in the holidays. And so we have Christmas, we have Hanukkah, we've got a lot of stuff going on, and then we're right into the new year. So as far as the indexes are concerned, the 31st is a major expiration. It's the last one of 2024 as far as our indexes and ETFs and things of that nature. But within the underlying, we still might see them move, but it's the expiration on the 27th that I think will be, or actually the 20th, excuse me, that's going to be the largest. That's where the largest, but let me put it this way, that's where the largest positions are sitting. So what happens after that? We'll see. But as far as Tesla is concerned, we're pushing against 400. So here we are. And so that really, when we close at 21,622, we're really 380 points away from 22,000. And so it's like, well, how hard is that going to be when we actually climbed last week? We gapped. So if we closed at 21,200, we ended up at 21,600. That's 400. So put another 400, we're there at 22. So I don't think it's all that difficult, nor do I believe that this rally as is really totally done. So back to the Elliott count, the way I'm looking at it is that we have one more level above for that minute, or excuse me, the minuet third wave. So now we're inside minute wave 5. So there's the 4 down there. And now we're inside the 5. And the best I can say is 1, 2, and then we're finishing up a third. Now that could be the ABC and it could be wave 5, all wrapped up and done. I don't know. We're going to have to kind of play this out and see how it all comes in. So once again, that could be A or wave 1, wave 2. This could be wave 3, and it can work it out to be a 3. We have a 3 and a 4, and then we have another 3 up and a 5. That is how I am looking at it right now. Now, wave 3 could be done here, or if I feel that we need a little bit more come Monday morning, because the way that they left it coming out of expiration was they continued to buy some of the stocks. Now, maybe that filled what they needed, and then we won't finish up, and then I can put the 3 here. So, but that's why I've got these two split. They're both in the minuet degree, but these down here are for once we do reach, and I'm talking as if that high on Friday completed minuet wave 3. If that's the case, then these are the markers or the fibs for a minuet fourth wave. And to be honest with you, this first one is where I'd be looking for it to come in. And maybe we get down inside of it to the 382. But that's like just filling the gap that we created Tuesday to Wednesday. And that could happen too. And that brings us right down into the 382. So these are our markers. Should that high on Friday have completed that minuet with wave 3, then we're going to do a minuet 4, and it's going to come down in an ABC. And being that we've collected and pushed as hard as we have, it could be a very quick and feeling more steep than it actually will be. But we could drop from 21.6 to 21.3. 21,385, that would be the minimum. And it puts us right into that previous fourth. So it all fits. If, though, we need one more little push, our next level up is for the next fib level for minuet 3. Well, there it sits right there. Either it's going to be there, or we get another little push, and our next resistance on the upside is 21,721. And then from there, we start to do that fourth wave. And of course, an adjustment would be made that would get pushed up to here, and these would rise up a little bit. So either way, I think either minuet 3 is done, and we're going to drop it in minuet 4, or we have a little bit more to do and finish minuet 3, and then we drop in a 4. we should find out pretty quickly well, actually, tomorrow on Globex. Give us some hints. If not, then we'll be looking for Monday to see exactly what happens. So let me just confirm some movement. We're going to go over and take a look at the moving averages. And you can see the 8 now angled very strongly higher, the 20 following along, and all heading a little bit stronger to the upside. Here we are on the daily RSI, not necessarily overbought, but here we have new all-time highs. So again, if I pull this open, you see how far in relative strength we are to the July high. And now we've exceeded that substantially. And we're just failing in terms of relative strength. But again, I feel that's really on the basis that it's more concentrated in particular stocks that are moving heavily on a particular day to the upside. So, but as far as the rally is, we're still in pretty good shape in terms of hanging on to that rally. So, in fact, we can come down in a 4 and just turn the 8 flat and then continue to go up. So that's kind of where we sit on all of that. And now let's go, move this back down. I'll go back out to the weekly. And we'll look at the NQ. Exactly, everything's the same until we break it down and we come inside. And then we have intermediate wave 3. Our first marker, we've kind of touched on Friday. So I'm leaving it there. So I'm just going to really show you the same. Everything's the same all the way up. And now let's immediately come right down to that 4-hour chart and let's open it up so we can start to see what we got going on inside here. So same deal, but I wanted to show here. This is for the intermediate third wave, and that's 5.882%. That's where this third is going to be 5.882% of the first wave. So that kind of fits in a way. It's pretty large. It's getting into the upper stratosphere, so to speak, but we touched it. We touched it on Friday. In fact, I think we surpassed it slightly, the high being 21,669 and that being 21,665. So we've exceeded it, came back down below it for the close, but now we're going to start to break it down even more. But, well, before I go there, so what it really suggests is I do believe that we get above both these. Since we're only finishing a third wave, I left them there so we can see them. That what we have is 21,665, which was already met, was already hit. And then the next one up is 21,718, which goes along with the cash market having a fib that would be for this minuet 3. So let me bring it down to the 1 hour, and then we can kind of go over that a little bit. So again, here are the two fibs that I think are going to be exceeded. What that does then, it brings it up to this next window, which is 23,000. I am not suggesting that that's where the market is going to go. What I'm suggesting is that if once we clear these fib levels, that would be the next level up for an intermediate third and the minor fifth. So, but again, what becomes more important in all of this is the structure itself. We're inside minute wave 5. Once minute wave 5 reaches its endpoint, it's going to complete minor wave 5 and intermediate wave 3. Whether that's going to be here or whether that's going to be somewhere in between. I again think it's going to be above 22,000. Let's not also forget that as we work towards December the 20th, that is when the December future, which is what we're still trading, expires. So when we go out and we look at the next month out, which would be March of 2025, you can see it's got a little bit, it's got about $260 worth of premium in it. And so if we start looking back here and we have $260 for the premium, we start adding it to these. As we go to the March future, you can see how we can get pretty dang close to here. Okay, so These are based in the future or the futures market. And when that contract rolls, we may be there. So we will kind of look at it in that respect. Now, so let's just continue on here and see where we are. So I think that we still have the same deal. We have that fib level for minuet wave 3, and that could come in at 21,805. We've already met everything up to that point. So whether minuet wave 3 completed here at the highs, or whether we got a little bit additional push, that still is here to happen. And then we still have the minuet wave 4, which is here, here, and here. That's where all three will come in. So again, we're not looking for a whole lot more before we get a fourth wave, but then we still have a fifth wave up, and that's why I think we'll exceed that. We'll end up pushing towards that December 20th and get ourselves up into there by the time the roll is complete. Now, here as well, our moving averages are all in pretty good shape. And so we're still looking for everything really just pointing additional levels higher. So what we're looking at for next week is we're likely going to start with a small wave 4. May seem like it's larger because just of the size of the rallies, but we're looking for something maybe bring it back to 21,400, 434, maybe down to 300, 21,300, possibly. Still, 300-point drop is a 300-point drop. But that's going to be it for this weekly update. Things are still looking pretty good to get this end of year rally complete. Whether it's going to go just till the 20th and then we start to decline, or whether they actually carry through to the end of the year, unknown. All right, so the next daily update will be on Monday, December the 9th.